Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with AmericanScouser.com. It's Kermit Day today, green and loving it. So I have coffee going with Kermit. We have our very own Egyptian king, Rami, over here. Rami, what's happening, man?
What's going on, Timu? Thank you. I've never been called that before, so so I'm glad. I'm glad.
Well, Matush was never called a Polish prince before either, but
I'll take
it,
it.
it slowly gains traction. So lot to get to from yesterday. We'll probably start on those. I mean, in terms of like Liverpool headlines, really like the main ones are the fact that they're getting ready for the Dubai Cup and the fact that everybody is there, which is a good sign. Seeing Jota and Diaz and stuff like that. I was talking a little bit about it yesterday, so those are definitely good to see. I don't know, man. I have like a really bad feeling about this tournament. I hate these kinds of tournaments where it's not really serious, but it's a tournament. It's kind of like a preseason game. It reminds me of watching international games where I'm watching so that people don't get hurt. I don't care what they do. Just be ready for when we start the games. But let's go to the national games because I'm assuming, since we talked about this last week, you're on a ridiculous high from that Morocco win.
Yeah, honestly, it's like I was celebrating as if like Egypt won yesterday. I was so happy for them. It just yeah, it was because no North African team has ever made the quarterfinals before, so that was just like a huge
Really?
achievement. Yeah, all the African teams that made it before were like uh, Senegal, Cameroon, and I forgot the last one.
Nigeria, maybe?
Uh, yeah, Nigeria. Um, so seeing a North African team do it just kind of gives us all hope and inspires us, and just yeah, I was just really happy to see that. Especially also more than anything, I was happy to see Spain get eliminated, so I don't have to watch that 80% possession ball anymore.
Is it so? I was going to ask you that because obviously you're a lot more familiar with, like some of the politics, the history, and stuff like that of the region than I am. Is there a special value to it because they eliminated Spain because of the like the historical political relations they have with Spain?
Yeah, I think so. I have a few Moroccan friends, and they're kind of telling me the same thing. That's like for example, Ashraf Hakimi. He grew up in Spain. Like his mom was like a cleaner, I believe, in Spain, in Madrid, and they wanted him to play for them, but he chose Morocco instead. And there's countless examples of that, and there's a huge Moroccan population in Spain. And so yeah, one of my friends compared to it's kind of like Mexico beating the United States, and then like the Mexican immigrants here just being very just happy because it's like their home country beating the country that they live in now. And so that's kind of the best comparison I could find for it. But yeah, they're just super stoked either way. But it being Spain just add a little bit, cherry on top.
Yeah, because I mean, at least the U.S. Mexico one is more of like a rivalry. This is so much of a going against Goliath kind of a story that like Spain is big favorites. Hey, I'll admit it's yesterday on this very show. I'll have to go back and delete the footage so that it's not out there. But I expected more of like a Brazil South Korea kind of game. I even called that. I think that I would expecting it to be more Brazil South Korea, Spain being able to eventually open them up and but credit to Morocco. So take yourself out of the equation, okay? Like take Morocco, Egyptian, the North African thing out of the equation. When you watch a game like that, when there's a team that's mainly defending and just focusing on counterattack, and in some ways more than okay with going to overtime, going to penalties and stuff like that. And I don't know, I don't think they parked the bus that much, but obviously that was the game plan. Do you put equal value to that win because it's a way of winning one way or the other, or do you say kind of like what I think Rodri said that like Morocco did not play a whole lot of football, blah blah blah.
I mean, a win is a win. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, a win is a win. And I saw Rodri's quotes, and to be honest, I think they kind of frustrated me because it's like that was their game plan. What was your game plan? You didn't adjust at all to them parking the bus and trying to hit you on the counter. And even though like you kind of knew that's what they were going to do coming in, and Spain was just content with holding the ball and playing it around the back and doing a long ball every 5 minutes and hoping for the best. And so for me, it's like just because their strategy worked and you don't agree with it doesn't mean that it's wrong. Um, and yeah, I think like I said, a win is a win, and especially in tournament football where it's just knockout situation. It's like you got to do whatever you can just to survive. And so I can't really blame Morocco for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, Spike says that wins that win, and I agree. It might not be as pleasant on the eye as two teams playing open soccer or whatever, but at the end of the day, yeah, you got to look at. I mean, you got to look at each game individually and say, what is our strength? How can we win? Well, this is the way we can win. Well, then let's freaking do it. And I know, and that shit is easier said than done, really. I mean, it's not like everybody thinks, oh, if you sit back and park the bus, because that's a lot of energy. And that's why I thought as the game went into overtime, I was really expecting, and they did. I mean, Spain did threaten, but I kind of like expected Spain to get even like a stronger foot on the game, because that's a lot of energy to defend for that long. Because mentally, being a defender, I can tell you defending is a lot more tiring than attacking, because you're, you know, caught between anticipating, following up, chasing, and reacting. Whereas, the guy who's attacking has a game plan, and he has a plan, and he's kind of like trying to do that. He's trying to execute. Whereas you're doing a bunch of things. You have to watch a bunch of people, you have to watch the movement, you have to anticipate things. So it's a lot more tiring mentally, and doing that for 120 minutes. um yeah, I thought Spain would gain more and more the upper hand, and they really did not. Spiky Parker says if Liverpool did that in the CL final, we would still celebrate. Would we still celebrate? Of course we would, and we would. Yes, exactly, and I think so too. I only hate it when a team, like, I am okay with defending and going with counters. I'm more, and Morocco did not do this, where they do the Burnley Sean Douche style of defending, where it's more about butchering and not defending, more about, like, like physical beatdown than actual defending. I didn't think Morocco did that. I don't think Morocco was that physically stronger or built that way anyway. It was just good defending, keeping the shape, and I mean, goalie had a great game, and they win, and it's penalties. So here's the thing. Have you been shocked with how bad some of these penalties have been in these games? I know the goalies get a lot of credit, like, like the Bono is like the hero now. But at the same time, I mean, man, like, not scoring one is almost like harder to do.
Yeah, 100%. Even the Japan game, there's a lot of bad penalties in that one. Um, and you just got to kind of wonder, like, you hear that quote Luis Enrique said last year that he wanted them to practice, I think, 1,000 penalties in the next year or something. And you just wonder, like, what were they practicing? I think it might just be, I think these players just, like, they're trying to be too cute or, like, too precise. And honestly, like, I've heard goalkeepers say in the past, it's like the hardest penalty to stop is when they just step up and just put their boot through it, just put a bunch of power behind it. So, yeah, I just think players are trying to be too precise now, and it's kind of leading to because, like you said, like, yeah, the keeper has to, go the right way, but they're all very savable balls. They're like right at his height or on the ground or whatever, and so it just kind of surprised me that, like, these are professional players and they're taking penalties like amateurs. They're just not. They just don't look good at all.
I think that's a good point. It's like a little bit of like overthinking or trying to outsmart going on. And we were like doing I tried it, like, literally the moment the game ends, I try to put the mute on the laptop so I don't hear it. But unfortunately, I wasn't fast enough this time. So got to listen to Lala's talk about, how it's a science. It's not just luck, the goalies and stuff like that. Look, I understand that you got, you have obviously research on all these guys. If I always go to the left and stuff like that, but that's where the mind game is, right? I also know that that I always go to the left. So it's like, am I going to react to that and go to the other side to fool you? Or I'm going to say that, hey, he's going to think, well, that's what I'm going to do. So it's a lot of mind games in that sense. But yeah, you don't have as much backup come in, like, pick a corner in your head on your, like, walk up, and they're just smash it in there. Because really, you are pretty darn close. So a hard shot, even if they guess the wrong side, how many times have we seen the goalie guess the right side but can only get a finger to it? Especially now that they can't cheat as much and they have to stay behind the line, so they can't close that angle. I mean, Sparky Bucky says pressure. That's why it was like, you can take 1,000, you can take 2,000 penalties. You can't simulate that environment. I mean, even if I know they do these things with like pumped in sound and stuff like that, but it's still, your brain is still telling you this is practice. The consequences of you missing is not there. So I was looking at this earlier. Let me ask you. So since 2009, close to 100,000 penalty kicks have been taken. This is from like Instats over here. How many would you say of these about 100,000 penalties were converted?
Oh, if I had to guess, I would say nothing higher than 60%. So like what, 60,000? Um,
Actually, you went low. I actually originally was more at like, my guess would have been like 80 or something like that. Because I feel like if
okay.
there's five penalties taken, usually three to four are taken, but it's somewhere in between. It's basically 75.49%
Hmm.
of those were goals out of like close to 100,000 taken. About 18% is saved by goalkeepers, 4% go wide, and about 3% hit the post or the crossbar. So, yeah, looking at these last two penalty shootouts is definitely out of the norm with Japan and Spain. I mean, it was just kind of like horrific. But so do you? I don't know if you have connections with Moroccan fans as well, but do they have even more hope now that they are not really going against? I mean, they already took out at Spain, so you would think there's confidence to be able to take over anybody. Um, the fact that it's Portugal instead of, let's say, Brazil or somebody like that, does that really increase the hope, or could that be a downfall because they would probably play better against a team like Brazil than Portugal?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. You know, they don't want to be too overconfident, but at this point, you can't tell them anything. Like, you know, they think they're winning it all. So, so I mean, I appreciate that. I'd be the same way too. But like, yeah, I just think I don't think it matters who they play. I think they knew they'd get a tough opponent in the quarterfinal, whether it's Portugal or France or Brazil or whoever. So I think they're just going to approach the game probably the same way they did against Spain and hope for the best. But yeah, I think for them, just this is a huge achievement, so they don't really care. They're just happy kind of to be here.
I think, yeah, I mean, having been in there very, very rarely back in the day when the South Korea one when Turkey advanced, I think it comes to a point where I think, I mean, we had like an easy route though. I can't remember. Was it Costa Rica, then Senegal? I mean, it was not, they did not take on any big teams. So the hope is there. But at the same time, you never freaking expected them to go that far anyway. So everything becomes an icing on the cake. So even if they lose, you're like, you know what? It was a good run. I was disappointed because they played so well against Brazil and they probably could have beaten Brazil, it felt like. But, it just yeah, it comes to a point where you're just happy regardless of what's going on, just happy to be there. It's just more like the player's mindset. I think that makes a difference there. Are they happy and content now, or are they like, hey man, anything can happen, still go at it? And I think sometimes that helps playing with no pressure. I mean, Sparky Parky is talking about earlier about pressure with penalty kicks. Sometimes it helps playing with zero pressure at all, knowing, hey, we weren't supposed to be here. So this is just icing on the cake. And I think that's kind of ease of the mind, I guess, helps like teams play a lot more looser, especially when you're playing against like a favorite who obviously will be Portugal. Or I mean, that's Ronaldo's team, the guys that are with Ronaldo, not Portugal, but the guy are how nauseated are you with the Ronaldo thing? I mean, wherever this guy goes, he somehow makes it so that he is bigger than everything else around him.
Right, 100%. And it's kind of funny, like looking at the Discord chat yesterday, because it wasn't just like people who are like, "Oh, Ronaldo's annoying." It's like, "Oh yeah, great win for Portugal, but Ronaldo." You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of like where the conversation around Ronaldo has come to. It's like Portugal won 6-1 yesterday, and nobody's talking about that. It's like it just Ronaldo this, Ronaldo that, and it's like it's not on purpose. It's people. It's even people who are just like, "Oh, I'm sick of hearing about him too." But still, the conversation is still about Ronaldo. And so, yeah, I mean, look at us right now. I think we're both sick of hearing about it, and yet we're still here talking about it. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing.
Um,
So good thing you said that. So let me show you this. It's the best photo I found, but it showed up on my feed yesterday. This is basically before the game during the national anthems. I don't think there's this much media. I'll look on the next game, but I highly doubt there's this much media facing the freaking bench on like a regular national. So is it more the fault of the media that they make him the focus and he's just milking it, or they're just giving the people what they want? Let's face it, a lot of people are rooting for Portugal only because Ronaldo happens to be Portuguese.
I think it's a bit of both. I think the media is doing because they think that's what the people want. I don't think that's actually like general population. I don't think anybody wants to, excuse me, hear about Ronaldo 24/7. I mean, the pregame show, like you said, I try to mute the Fox News, Fox Soccer coverage, but um, they were just all they're talking about was Ronaldo got benched, and they didn't even show the lineups. They were just talking about Ronaldo being benched. So it's like, it's like, yeah, I know he was benched. I want to see who was playing. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think the media is definitely responsible. I think, like you said, that's what they think people want to hear. But to be honest, I'd say maybe 60-70% of the population just wants to watch the game. They don't care about Ronaldo. And so they're kind of pandering to that other smaller percentage that's diehard Ronaldo fans. And yeah, I think we should be talking about how good Portugal are and how they are now really contenders, instead of talking about Ronaldo being benched.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't know if it's because I mean you would think the ratio of people like us. I mean, it was like 3-0, and the dude is like, the really important question right now is when will we see, like, will we see Ronaldo and when? I'm like, is that really the important question? Like, especially like in the minds of the Portuguese, he said. And I'm like, is it really? Could they care less because they're up 3-0? They're already pretty much celebrating. I think it was like the 50th minutes or 55th minutes or somewhere around there. So they're already celebrating the fact that, hey, we're going to the next round, looks like, kind of a deal, and probably seeing, oh, we can, and then they know it's going to be Morocco, so there is that holy cow, we could go all the way kind of a deal. So, but at the same time, you see that it has to be a lot of, maybe for the casual fans. I just don't know what the percentage is, especially a broadcast that's in the US. I know because it's more casual fans who would know who Ronaldo is, or when they turn on the TV, they're like, oh, it's Portugal. They're like, what the hell is Ronaldo? I've been duped. Like, he's not out there, kind of a thing. And I don't know, that's why they keep talking about it. It's not, I mean, we knew it. We knew it was coming. I was trying to set an over-under on how many shots of Ronaldo we would see during the game, even though he was on the bench. There were probably more cameras on him than freaking the game itself. But I mean, going back to what you're saying, the most important part of it is the fact that Portugal looked really good. Is that Portugal being really good? Well, Switzerland probably shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Probably a bit of both, like it always is. But I think we deserve Portugal deserves a lot of credit. Um, you know,
Did you just say
I think a
we
lot.
were Portugal? Wait, what's going on there?
Sorry, that was a slip. Maybe we forward and slip. I don't know. I'm just cheering for every team from now on. Just get used to it. um, but yeah, no, I think they deserve a lot of credit. I think a lot of us were kind of focusing on Brazil or France or even Argentina as the contenders, and we kind of forgot about Portugal a little bit. But I think yesterday they kind of announced themselves, and they really looked like, I hate to bring it back to this, but they looked a lot better without Ronaldo on the field. They look more of like a cohesive unit, and like you mentioned, now they're playing Morocco, who should be beatable for them, and anything could happen in the semifinal, and suddenly, we're seeing Portugal in a World Cup final, and so yeah, I think they deserve a lot of credit. Switzerland's not an easy team to beat. Brazil only beat them 1-0. And so for them to come out and win 6-1 is kind of a statement, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's clear, like, all this Ronaldo talk, but it's clear that they do play a lot better without him, because they play a different style without him. I think I saw stats that was, I think, as he was coming out or something like that. I mean, I hate both of them uh, a lot. But like, I think it's like hurried, what is it called? Something like pressure applied stats or something like that. And it was like a ridiculous number by both Bruno Fernandes and Bernardo Silva. And you could see that ridiculous pressure, like the counter pressing they were doing. You're just not doing that with Ronaldo, and you're not doing it for like 90 minutes. You were not doing it even when he came in. I mean, all he wanted to do was get a goal, obviously, when he comes in, but you just are not going to get that with him on the pitch. It was the same issue at United. But the problem is when you score 6 goals, and when, especially the guy who started in his spots, gets a hat trick, that kind of is like, good move. See, good call. But then if they were not able to score, it's a really ballsy move because you have one of the best scorers that you benched. Because you can ask. I mean, a lot of United fans, when Ronaldo was there, that they would still be like, if Ronaldo is there, you put Ronaldo and you build the team around him. You play accordingly. Not you have a system that Ronaldo doesn't fit, so you bench him. So there's a lot of mindset with that. So knowing that, but then again, seeing the results, what do you expect to see in the Morocco game?
I think Morocco will fight hard, maybe even get it to extra time. But I think Portugal just has too much. I could see it maybe like 3-0, 2-0. I think Morocco's going to struggle to score also. Um, but yeah, I think Portugal is really talented. I was kind of surprised by how deep they are. Watching that game yesterday, it's like the striker, like you said, who comes in for Ronaldo scores a hat trick. You know what I mean? And just like their midfield, and well, I think their only concern is at the back. But I don't think Morocco's going to expose that too much. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be a comfortable win in the end, unfortunately, for Portugal.
Unfortunately, but do you start Ronaldo or do you say, hey, this is
No,
what freaking work? We're still rolling with it.
I don't think Ronaldo starts the rest of the tournament.
I don't think so either. Yeah, I think it's just
Yeah,
more of like a this is your new role, kids, kind of a
yeah,
ordeal. Like, why don't you just be a big brother kind of thing? And then you still get your medal. Well, you'll be on the field if we win the World Cup at the end in the final seconds, kind of a thing. And yeah, I think that's going to be the deal. Out of these games right here, do you see any surprises? I mean, obviously Morocco being there is kind of a surprise to start with, but you called out Portugal on that one because by the time you are on again, we're going to be actually about to start the second semifinal. So do you see any surprises? Croatia, Brazil, Netherlands, Argentina, England, France. Which I don't know if there's a
um,
surprise necessarily in the England France game. But
right. I was gonna say even all of them. I wouldn't be surprised if either team wins. Even Croatia, Brazil. I think Croatia's a good
really,
team, but yeah, I think so. I think they're very experienced. They made the finals last time, and if anything, they're a better team now. So I think, but I still think Brazil takes care of business easy. So I also think France takes care of business, and the only real shock I would say is I think Argentina's going to struggle with Netherlands. Whether they lose or not is a different story, but I could really see Netherlands winning that game. You know what? I'll go with I think Netherlands and the Messi dream and this Netherlands
you
Brazil in
are
the
taking
semifinal.
Netherlands, huh?
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
unfortunately.
which
Also,
that's going to be the big one over here. Of course, like me, I don't like to toot my horn, but let's get this ticker rolling, baby, because the and but the weird thing is the wifey is right behind, literally a point behind, and I think Netherlands is really the only tiebreaker we got going. We both had Spain advancing, so that side of the bracket is the same. The only difference is Netherlands, Argentina. So that could be the decider. Matoush actually had Morocco yesterday, so that was like a gutsy pick. But that was 2 Mondays ago when this ticker was saying Matoush is number one. We've gone past that. Are you in this pool? Did you jump in the pool?
no, I didn't get into it in time.
The water is great. You should have jumped in. But yeah, now I can just like brag about it 24/7 and annoy the hell out of Galley and Bickler. But um, so obviously we don't have 2 days of no World Cup now. Are you starting to get the Liverpool fever going with this Dubai Cup, or are you in the same mode where this preseason just take care of yourselves?
A little bit, maybe not for the Dubai Cup, but I think I'm ready to watch this play competitive games. Um, I'm just interested to see how we look when we get back. Just because, like going into the World Cup, we were just kind of like holding it together barely. So I'm hoping that we look like a different team, and hopefully maybe one of our players wins the World Cup, whether it's like Brazil or England or somebody, and then they come back with like a renewed energy too. So yeah, I'm excited to see how we look. Naby Keita and all these guys are gonna be back from injury who we forgot existed.
Will
So
he though?
I
Will he
mean,
though?
that's the idea. That's what they tell us. So
Yeah, I'm literally like just keep refreshing the page to see what kind of an injury and what injury he gets. I don't even know if he plays, if he is healthy, to be honest with you, unless we try him out there on the League Cup or something like that. But I think there have been some bridges burned there. It at least feels like there have been some bridges burned there, but you never know. I would not mind if, obviously if we make moves to bring people in, I definitely would not mind getting what we can for him at this point. You are going to lose money, just admit it and get what you can for him. I think the biggest news for me is the fact that Diaz is back. I think we forget, with the arrival of Nunez and trying to make that work, Nunez, Mo, and, I think we've forgotten that he was probably, since he joined, so we're talking like mid-season last year, he's probably been our best player on the pitch, except from like Allison in terms of like consistency, contribution, and stuff like that. And that was a huge loss that I feel like got lost in the mix because we got Nunez in.
yeah, 100%. I think he's more of the Sadio Mane replacement than Nunez. I think a lot of people fail to remember that. That yeah, he's been integral to our front line, and I think yeah, I don't think we've looked the same since he's got hurt. And then the issue is Jota really got hurt around the same time too. So our front line really hasn't looked the same, and that's somebody else I'm excited to see come back. I don't know if he'll be back in the next few months, but Jota's another player that I feel like we kind of forget about sometimes too.
Yeah.
He comes up with a lot of important goals, and his pressing and just like being able to step in for Firmino. I think hopefully he gets back soon too. But yeah, I agree 100% about Diaz. I think we kind of forget about how good he really is.
Sparky Parky says, hoping Bellingham is a Christmas present for Liverpool. We need midfielder. I can see Sparky Parky going from mall to mall, asking every freaking Santa for Bellingham, because I'm about to do the same thing every time I watch the kid over here. What is your gut feeling? There's so much rumors, and that's the thing. They're like, I love this. Oh, they have the upper hands kind of thing. How many upper hands have we lost, and how many have we won, even though we didn't even have a hand and stuff like that? So, what is your gut feeling? Because I think it's more than anything else. I mean, if you look at Instagram, he's ours already. But I mean, but like, what is your gut feeling? Are we going to be able to get him across, or like, is it going to be in January, where maybe even like you sign in January for him to come next season, or is it going to be summer? What's your gut feeling?
My gut feeling, and this might just be blindly optimistic, is that he wants us. It's just a question of whether we pay the money or not. That's kind of where my sense is. I just don't think like all this hanging out with Trent and Henderson and all these Instagram posts and like Adam Milana posting it too, and all these like little things that just kind of like I don't know, this teasing, I guess you could call it. I just don't think there's no smoke without fire generally. And so that's kind of how I feel. But like I said, whether it's a different question of whether we can get it across the line, like financially, and agree to like the wages that he wants and all of these things, because I think he does want to come, and just a question of whether we have the capacity to do it.
Yeah, I think, and the fact that the uncertainty of the ownership and all that kind of stuff, I just feel like I hope it's not coming at a bad time, or maybe it is coming at a good time. Depends on, I guess, when that gets resolved too. And Sparky Parker says it's always about the money. And I think, I think we were talking about it on the podcast, or maybe it was like last Friday. I can kind of see all that stuff playing a difference if the money is close or the same. Let's go close, because if it's the same, I guess it's a no-brainer. But because you can always talk about, it's not easy going to like a different country, different language, and all that kind of stuff, because that's what he would have, obviously, going to Real Madrid. Obviously, he did that, or he has already done it once, going to Germany. But, there is a challenge to that, separate from just changing clubs. That by itself is like changing the club, the culture, expectations, and all that kind of stuff. So in some ways, you could say, okay, it's familiarity, so he would feel more at home coming back to England. But at the same time, it might be better for him to stay the heck away, act like he doesn't speak a word of Spanish, and just get by with, being low, kind of like laying low behind the scenes at Real, like where there's so many other names that, the media will kind of constantly chase around. But I'm hoping that all this stuff will be the tiebreaker. But to get a tiebreaker, you gotta be close with the money. You can't be like, you can offer 80, somebody's offering 120. But they were like, but the good times were had with Hendo is not going to cover the 40 million gap, I think.
Right.
10 or 20, maybe. But I agree with Sparky. It's always about the money. When the money difference is that much, if it's just, you're like, hey, you know what? I'll take 5 million less, but go there. And the thing is, it's more like what Dortmund is going to get as of now. I guess obviously it's going to change eventually, but we will go with that and we will see. My gut feeling is optimistic, but that's only like just optimism. It's nothing based on anything at this point. But I feel like you're saying, there's just too much smoke for it not to be. But we've done the same thing with Mbappe back in the day too. They're like, oh, a lot of hashtags announcing him, because he's like, he's wearing this, he wears Nike too, just all kinds of crazy stuff. But well, Rami, thanks a lot, man. I'm hoping so. Next Wednesday, are we getting ready for your Morocco game? Yes, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
Let's hope so. I mean, I would not mind that upset thing, as long as Netherlands, Argentina goes my way. Everything else is fine, looks like. So, but it's time for that second cup of coffee. Thanks a lot, Rami, and thanks to all those who are listening, joining in. We'll be back again tomorrow morning, first thing with the morning coffee. Grab a cup and join us.